I'm back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Ehtisham, my channel, where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. Sorry, I haven't been able to make a video this week. Just had my second baby girl. So just been busy with all of that, sleepless nights, and everything like that. People who have kids know all about that. But I kept up with the Raptors, and the Raptors are on a three-game losing skid. So without further ado, let's talk Raptors three-game losing skid. Now, today's game, well, I'm going to summarize all three of the games and the things that I noticed were an issue. Now, it seems like Gary Trent Jr. is in a slump. The Raptors' ball movement hasn't been that great. They were pretty good when Malachi did it in the start, but then in Friday's game, Malachi wasn't able to play the fourth quarter because he had a hamstring issue. And it seems like there isn't a backup point guard, especially today's game where we were playing without a point guard at all. And the Raptors were struggling moving the ball. They were missing bunnies at the rim. Defensively, they looked out of sync because Nick Nurse had to shuffle a couple of the lineups in order to get some productivity from other people. But overall, the Raptors were in these games. The only issue with the Raptors was that we fell back too much by too many points to possibly make a great comeback, because it takes a lot of energy to be able to come back. And eventually we lost all three of these games, and they're gonna hurt because they were all against Eastern Conference rivals, not necessarily in Detroit and Orlando, but those games were important because those teams are teams that you expect to beat, and we didn't beat them, so it hurt us in our standings. And today against Cleveland Cavaliers, if we would have beat them, we would have gone a step towards catching them at the sixth spot, because Boston is just playing out of their mind right now, even though I fuck Boston. So it seems like the Raptors are struggling. I know a lot of Raptor fans are going to be like, oh man, damn it, is this going to be last year again, or what's going to happen, this and that. I'm, on the other hand, I'm not worried, and that is going to be my key takeaways today from all three of the games, is positivity from positive key takeaways. Number one is, even when we're down 10-15 points, especially with missing guys, we're still making games out of these games. First of all, Detroit, I don't know what the hell's going on. It's the gods or whatever. But it seems like Dwayne Casey just has Nick Nurse's number. So you expect to lose against Detroit every game now. Orlando, we were in that game. Today we were pretty good, close, cut it to a good deficit. And then eventually, we lost it. And it seems like, the Raptors are always in the games, even with the limited resources they have. So that is a positive point. Because once we get our guys back, that just means we add on top of what we are actually getting, a baseline that we are setting, is that we're always going to remain competitive even when we have guys out and possibly win games. But then when we have our guys back, that's just going to put us over the top in the sense of winning the games that we, possibly losing close enough. So that's a positive I'm seeing from the Raptors, in the sense that, they're remaining in the competitive. They're having, defensive breakdowns, this and that, but they're not hanging their head, and they're fighting back, trying their best to win the game. And it's led by Pascal in the last three games. He's been performing out of his mind. He's finally back. I think the flu symptoms are finally gone, and he's performing at a high level again. So it's good to see from the Raptors that they're trying their best. The second key takeaway is, I am okay with this happening now. And I'll tell you the reason. Anybody that's played competitive sports knows this. If you're constantly winning, unless you're just like a complete juggernaut, you want to lose a few games before you go on another winning streak. Why? Because it resets your luck. That's just my superstitious belief, right? You can't just go 13-0, because eventually something is going to want, natural forces that I believe are just going to want to level the playing field, and you're going to lose that one game or two games, and possibly go on a skid or whatever, and you're going to end up losing more than you want to, or losing important games. So for the Raptors to go through it now and possibly be able to have this the losing skate, the struggles, the injuries out of their way before we get into the play-in or the playoffs is good for us because our luck would have reset it. Now it might sound stupid, but a lot of people that play sports like I have, they will realize that they will know what the hell I'm talking about. Look at the Golden State Warriors that went 73-9. They lost at the wrong time, man, which was the finals. You don't want to do that, right? They were winning the playoffs all through the playoffs. They were just crushing everybody, and then in the finals they lost when they were down. They were up 3-1. It's nuts. It's nuts, right? So it's good that the Raptors are getting their losing out of their system. And going forward, we're on the Western Conference trip. So we're going to catch, the teams that we're playing right now in the Eastern Conference. Sorry, we're going to catch those teams by winning against the Western Conference. Yeah, so the Western Conference team. So that's pretty much like going to work out for us very well going forward because, it doesn't impact anything on the Eastern side. And, if the Western teams win, yeah, it just means we get some losses. But it's not like we're helped another team, kind of like we did Cleveland today. So the third key takeaway I have is the injuries. Honestly, when the Raptors had everybody back, we were looking like a team that would be contending for at least the second round in the playoffs, And we don't have OG Anunoby, we don't have Fred, we didn't have Malachi today, we didn't have Thaddeus Young on. I think it was Friday, and we're missing guys again and again, and those guys are important guys. It's not like bench guys, right? Or guys that don't play as much of an impact in our team. Freddie's our ball handler. He's a team leader, right? And we haven't had him for a week and a half. OG, since the All-Star break, we haven't had him, and he's our defensive, maestro. And Malachi was finally coming into his, into his own in a sense, and he got out of today's game, even though he would have been perfect to guard Darius Garland because Darius Garland is quick, he's tiny, and he was getting into the bucket as much as he wanted because nobody could keep up with him. We have tall guys, we have ability to switch, but there's difference in speed, no doubt. And that's one of the key contributions to our losses right now is that we don't have everybody, and once we get everybody, then it'll be a different picture altogether. And if we can get something out of the 2 days that we get after our next game I think it's on tomorrow or one of the days, but we'll be fine. Honestly, we'll be fine. And the fourth key positive takeaway I have is Gary Trent Jr., man. I know people are going to be ragging on him, this and that, but it's understandable that, he's still young. He's in third year. And this is the first time he's making a lot more, getting a lot more minutes and a bigger role. So for him to be struggling now instead of struggling later on in the bigger picture is good for us because he will learn how to get out of it in a point in our season when it won't hurt us too much, right? And if he can figure that out now, he'll probably be ready by the playoffs. And if that, he has one bad game, two bad games, he won't let it get to him. And he'll come back to the Gary Trent Jr. that we all know him to be. And the opposite of that is that Pascal's done that constantly. He struggled last year, the year, bubble year, this and that. And he's finally back. He worked his way through, and he's doing very well now. And that's exactly what Gary Trent, and it's at the right moment that this is happening. If this was to happen in the playoffs, we might possibly have some sort of issues with Gary Trent. He's a young kid. He might let it get to his head and, cause issues with his development going forward. So for it to happen now and then him having, at least a decent playoffs would be very good for his growth going forward. So all of those things make me very positive about the Raptors going forward. I don't think the Raptors are going to, possibly get out of the play-in or not make it to the playoffs, this and that. I think we have a pretty good shot once we have all of our guys back, especially with the West Coast trip coming up. A lot of the shitty teams are still there. Like Lakers, we can beat them. Denver, we can beat, Phoenix, injury prone right now. A lot of things that are coming up, we can probably win those games. And for us to do that on the West Coast will help us in our standing, especially with the 3-game difference that we have currently with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think it's just been bad luck that every time we played Cleveland, we've been, we haven't had all of our guys. Like the COVID breakout, we had the Cleveland game after that where we had everybody on a 10-day contract, and today we didn't have all of our main guys either, whereas they've been healthy and they've been having everybody. So It's not much of an issue there, guys. Don't worry about it. The Raptors will make a comeback like they always do. This is a resilient team, and I believe in them. And I'm not gonna change my opinion until we get knocked out completely. And it happens with all of our guys available. So that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed that content. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I will try my best to do the video for you guys after the next game.